using your investor background, because that's a unique skill set that you bring to the table. I don't know what kind of investing, so maybe you want to shed some light on that. But would you say because as an investor, you have to do a lot of analysis and also, the pain points of the people behind the brands? Like, hey, this is the challenge the C-suite is looking at. This is the challenge the founder is looking at, who's trying to get their next round. And I think that also probably dovetails into why this is a different kind of product. It's not tech for the sake of tech. It's tech with a purpose to accomplish a goal. I mean, obviously a lot of tech has that, but it's more like, empowering the people that are trying to grow the brand, which I think also goes back to the, investment piece of it. So I was curious, where was your investment background and how does that influence your thought process in executing this company and these strategies?
So, I was a private equity investor, and I spent a lot of time actually looking, and I covered retail for
Okay.
PIMCO. And so PIMCO had both private and public exposure to retail across a couple of different categories, but their notable exposure was to malls. And so what I spent a lot of time thinking about is like, what will the future of physical retail look like? And like what innovation are like physical retailers going to be employing in the future? So that was my investor background. Um, I
Interesting.
think which like I thought a lot about what is omnichannel, like, how is that going to be defined? And what is like experiential retail? How does that interaction between a customer going in store, online, and kind of back and forth? And what we see and know is that like a consumer does research online, they'll go in store. Sometimes they'll purchase in store, sometimes they'll purchase online, but that's like very much this fluid experience. And the more you can like tie those things together, the better the shopping experience for the consumer and the more data the brand has, and the more money the brand can make from creating that seamless experience. So that was what I was like actively thinking about investing in, from the private equity perspective. So as I think about what I learned from that and how I've taken that to being a founder now, is like one, as an investor, you're looking across opportunities and deciding which ones you think are most interesting. And so I think that like when I was transitioning to being a founder and looking at different problems that I was excited about working on, I think that just like kind of that evaluation process was like a skill set that I took from the investor side. The other piece is, you have to be kind of people say you wear a lot of hats as a founder.
So
And
true.
that is so true. The amount of like shape shifting you are doing. And so I think that there's also an element, as an investor, of like just you're coming up a lot of different learning curves very quickly because you're looking across so many different categories, and diving in and learning how to become an expert in those respective categories. So that like learning how to learn quickly, is something that I think I've taken and applied into becoming a founder here, because I am like I need to learn how to like learn quickly all these different topics. So,
Yeah.
when I'm hiring someone in marketing, how do I learn who a good marketer for a B2B SaaS company is? Like what skill sets do they need to have versus sales? Those are very different roles and skill set
Yes.
and terminologies and comp structures. And I need to learn how to like what that looks like to even evaluate the talent. So, that I think is one of the skill sets, like, frankly, that I enjoy the most, but, it truly hurts your brain at the end of the day. Like, the amount of times that you're, like, shape shifting what you're focused on, I feel like I'm using my brain so much, because it's also just like, okay, we have this like enterprise contract. How are we going to price this deal? Like what's the right structure that maximizes our pricing, fits the value of the customer, but then also grows with the customer. So these like all of these like problems that we're trying to solve on a daily basis. So I would say that's like
That's really interesting.
the piece. And then one other point that I will make that you alluded to, which is like why we're working on what we're working. And so something that I've actually written about in my content and I think is really important is focusing on the problem that you're solving. So there has been something that I feel strongly about since the like second I started working on Bridge is that we are solving a big problem. When a brand sells through retail, it is literally a black box in retail, Amazon, any marketplace. This is a massive problem that brands are actively looking for solutions for. Bridge is a solution to that problem. Do we have like the perfect solution that solves every element of that problem? No. Do we have more of a solution than we did when we started? Yes. Are we continuing to build on that solution? Yes. Are there more opportunities for us to like solve more of that problem? Absolutely. And so, where I feel very grounded in what we are doing as Bridge is that we are focused on the right problem because it is such a big one that brands are actively looking for a solution for. We are going to continue to build on the solution. And there's, so much more opportunity and white space there. So, but the kind of a takeaway there is like being focused on a big problem, because that is like where there is a biggest opportunity as opposed to like, being obsessed with the solution that you come up with. I think, a lot of times people will incorrectly assume when you start a company that it's about the solution or the idea, but it's really more about kind of the problem that you're focused on solving.